Assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Tower of God returns for a third episode, which is filled to the brim with intense action, mystery, and intrigue. I can already see why this is going to be one of the most popular anime of 2020, as it really does have some of the best world building that I have ever seen. It also really helps that it has an incredible cast of characters which are incredibly diverse, and they keep managing to introduce new ones which are just as interesting as the last. And the third episode right here might be my favorite episode thus far. Before we jump into that, I just want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support this channel and these reviews. Every single review of Tower of God that I've done has done better than the last. My last review did double the amount of views as the first one, double the amount of likes, and even more comments than last time. And I especially love talking with you guys about Tower of God, because for me, this is a series that is completely new. I don't read the webtoon, the comic, the Korean manga, whatever you want to call it, so every single time a new episode is released, I'm completely surprised by all of the events. I also really love that a lot of you guys have been helping me and informing me a little bit more about the lore of the world and how to just pronounce things. I mean, this is a show that for me personally is really difficult when it comes to the pronunciation of a lot of the characters' names, because again, this stems from a Korean manga series, which is done in Japanese while I'm reading English subtitles. So please forgive me, a lot of these names I am probably going to absolutely butcher. Like the fact that apparently Bomb's childhood friend Rachel is pronounced Raheel. I'm not sure why that is, so forgive me if I continue to call her Rachel. It's just the way that I'm actually reading it in the subtitles. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and jump into the third episode of the series, which is just jam freaking packed with tons of great material. The first half of the episode giving us another very intense test, as well as giving us a little bit of insight into the backstory of Khun, otherwise known as Khun Agero. So the very next test is incredibly intense, as it looks like each of these individual three-man teams are going to have to go into a mysterious room that no one sees, and they're going to have to go through a test, and no one knows what happens. The only thing that we see is that a lot of these teams hear these screams coming out of this mysterious room, and apparently the teams that don't scream are able to pass. So you have to question what's really going on in this mysterious room. Bomb and Rack are chilling while Khun is trying to figure out some sort of plan as to how they're actually going to pass this test. They receive a little bit of insight from a character that is so weird I don't even know if I can describe him. He looks like a freaking alien who is wearing a beanbag as like a suit. He's like a beanbag alien-bodied character. I don't know what the fucking deal is with this guy, but he's really ridiculous and over the top, and he tries to give the team a little bit of a hint, where he notices that this test has something to do with time. He mentions that all of the teams that pass manage to do it within about 5 minutes, and they're the teams who actually don't end up screaming. Khun, of course, is a little reluctant to actually listen to this guy, and this is all sort of tied into his overall backstory, which we dive into just a few moments later. So Rack, Bomb, and Khun decide to go into this mysterious room where they're met by a new character who goes by the name of, and boy am I gonna butcher this name, I'm sure, Han Song-yu, who is some sort of princess, at least according to Bomb. I actually thought it was a dude at first, but at this point, with all these crazy, weird monsters and aliens and different races of people, it's kind of hard to tell at this point, but it's pretty clear that Han Song-yu has some sort of connection with Khun as well, as they both seem to know each other. And this test is actually surprisingly simple, despite how incredibly devastating and scary it looks. There are 12 doors, all of which are completely mysterious of where they go to, and the team is given the objective of having to open these 12 doors within 10 minutes. And that's it. That's the test. No other clue. They don't know what's going to happen. They just have to figure it out. In this test, Bomb is kind of unreliable, as he's kind of a rookie and doesn't really know what's going on. Rack is just going insane with trying to figure out what it is. Watching him sort of Spider-Man all over the room is really funny, but this is a good excuse to dive a little bit more into Khun's backstory, where we get to learn that apparently he was a part of some royal family, and he had a sister by the name of Maria, who was chosen to be this princess of some kind. And when she was chosen to be a princess, he was sort of exiled from his family for some odd reason. So Khun is sort of known as the exiled prince to a lot of these people within this weird, mysterious world. Now, the relationship between Khun and and Maria is not too different from, say, the relationship between Bomb and Rachel. The thing that's kind of strange, however, is that while Khun and his sister seem to have some sort of close relationship, the other implication is that they were apparently lovers. Now, Khun's sister might not actually be completely related to him by blood, but again, it's a pretty strange prospect, and I'm really curious as to why this is even happening in the first place. But when he was exiled, a lot of the things that he took with him, aside from his brand new outlook on the world that rejected him, was the advice that he received from his mother, which is basically, don't trust anyone and don't believe everything that they say. Something that he takes very seriously, and that's the reason he doesn't take the advice of the weird frickin' beanbag alien dude. However, while he's contemplating his backstory and trying to figure out desperately how to open up these doors, suddenly Rak just decides to open up one of them himself right as it gets to around 5 minutes in time. And this actually ends up working in their favor, because the real test was actually opening any of the doors within that 5-minute period. I love that Rak was so incredibly proud of himself, saying that it was all just a matter of instinct, and in a way, it was. It was really important. It showed that Khun is going to need comrades in his life who are going to have no hesitation in the things that they do. These three characters, Bomb, Khun, and Rak, are completely different from one another in every single way, and this episode sort of demonstrated why they have to have these distinctive personalities and why they work so well together. It was a fantastic scene that was filled with a lot of symbolism and also was played for laughs all at the same time. I mean, it's all worth it just to see Rak sing his very own theme song. By the way, I just want to mention again, I love that you guys leave me a lot of informative comments. I love that one of my commenters mentioned that Rak Wraithrazor's voice actor is the same guy who does the voice of All Might, otherwise known as Kenta Miyake. He also does the voice of Avdol from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders, and learning this fact has blown my mind because it's literally just the same voice every single time, and it's just made me love Rak Wraithrazor even more. Best character of the series as far as I'm concerned. The second half of the episode is where everything just starts to go completely freaking insane, because we actually get to learn that Rachel is indeed alive and has teamed up with 2 other people and is actually a part of this massive test as well. She was actually a part of another examination that was going on at a different time, and her team apparently is a group of badasses who completely annihilated everyone that they were competing with, and a lot of the overseers of all of these tests are a little curious as to what's really going on here, and they decide they want to learn a little bit more about her, so they decide to have this bonus test for all of these people who are competing for an opportunity to climb the tower. This test has a bonus prize of allowing these teams to skip all of the tests indefinitely and move ahead to climbing the tower, so pretty much everybody's going to be game for it. What's really shocking about all of this is, of course, that Bomb has no idea that Rachel's going to be involved in this next bonus test, but it leads to a really great action scene. This bonus test is going to involve this game known as the Crown game, where you're going to have these teams that can compete with one another to grab a crown, wear it, and sit on a throne, and they have to be protected from their other teammates and other people from stealing the crown. What's interesting about this test is how people are actually able to join. They actually are locked up in these cages, and they're going to have to press a button, and when they do that, they're going to be allowed to participate. Of course, people can be really strategic in the way that they actually handle this. The episode wastes no time in actually getting right to the action, where we get to see that Shibisu and his teammates Hots and Anak are actually going to be going up against this other group of warriors who just completely get annihilated by Anak in this episode. She is such a badass lizard girl. I shit you not, Anak is basically a little lizard girl Terminator. Nothing stops her at all. There's a dude who punches her directly in the face and it does absolutely nothing. She doesn't even flinch, and her weird whip sword just absolutely annihilates this team like a hot knife going through butter. One guy in particular who just gets absolutely smacked all around. I thought it was really funny how she herself actually decided to take the crown and sit down in the throne, something much to the anger of Shibisu. The episode ends as Bomb starts to realize that maybe Rachel is even closer than he could have possibly imagined, as more of these epic battles are about to unfold. So what's the rundown on this episode of Tower of God? This series is great. I mean, every episode manages to one-up itself, and it's moving at such a quick and amazing pace while still not forgetting to give us some really solid characterization. It seems like every episode is going to focus on one major character in some form or fashion, and this episode just really, piled all that on, and it worked so well. It seems like the type of episode that honestly could have been really overwhelming at first with all of the information that it was throwing at the viewer, but it was handled so well the entire time. The first half of the episode is wholly devoted to this test and Khun's backstory, but there's also smaller moments that work really, really well here, like the introduction of some brand new characters and the fact that we get to learn a little bit more about Bomb and how he really knows nothing about this world. Bomb himself literally had no concept of what the actual sky itself looked like, and apparently the world in which they're existing right now, like everything outside, is all actually sort of like a construction of Shin-Su taking the form of the sky itself, reminding the viewers yet again that the Shin-Su is going to be really important to the fabric of the series and how it's actually going to mold the entire world of Tower of God, which I think is really awesome. One of the biggest surprises about this episode was immediately getting into Khun's backstory, and I'm not really sure where they're fully going to go with this and what his overall motivation is. If it means trying to find Maria again, or if it's just getting revenge for the fact that he was sort of discarded from his family. I mean, they already made it very clear that he's a super powerful guy and he has a connection to some very powerful people, but we're starting to get the seeds planted for it in this episode right here, and I thought that it worked really good, and I'm glad that it didn't completely dominate the episode and that it was tied perfectly into the actual test that they were taking. And then they just up the ante by revealing that not only is Rachel alive, but she's competing in this test and could very well be going up against Bomb very soon. I mean, it's very obvious that he's about to finally have a reunion with her, but it might not be the reunion that he's actually expecting. It might actually be some sort of battle royale, battle to the death kind of situation, which I think is just really crazy. Again, though, my favorite thing about the episode simply are just the characters themselves. Everyone is designed so well, everyone is incredibly distinctive, and even one-off quick characters like Beanbag Alien Boy, like, he's amazingly memorable and I'm never gonna forget that character, but every character manages to look interesting. Like, even just like the one-off characters who get defeated by Anak all have their very own design that they just don't blend into the background of other characters, and this type of thing can be done very easily in these type of long-running anime series where you see a lot of generic-looking characters, and of course that could change in the future, but for right now, this is just a really good show to look at. In terms of production value, character design, the actual world, and the battles, everything looks really solid thus far. And after seeing Anak go into battle in this episode, I absolutely cannot wait to see some of the other exciting battles that are going to go on for the crown in the next couple of episodes. There's just so much promise, especially for the group that Rachel is a part of, because these guys are apparently badasses. Like, the fact that they took out all these other people off screen, we have to assume that they're really awesome. I don't know if Rachel has the power to do anything really crazy, but I imagine her teammates are also someone who are going to be pretty important. Even some of them, there's this one little one who seems to be interested in Anak as well. There might be relations between those characters as well. Like, there could be connections to a lot of these other groups within Rachel's organization as well, which I think is really awesome. And again, the episode does a great job of juggling its storytelling, its action, and surprisingly enough, yet again, its humor. The show still manages to be a little bit of everything, and I love it for that. Rack Wraithrazor still continues to be incredibly funny and badass all at the same time, and that's a thin line that's really hard to walk and work really well, but man, that guy just pulls it off, and learning that he's voiced by Kenta Miyake, like, that alone just makes me love this character tenfold. Even jokey characters like Shibisu, who's sort of seen as like the joke character of the show, is surprisingly competent in this episode, and you know that there's something special about him. Like, there's something that they are hiding about all of these characters, whether they seem really intimidating or goofy. It's the type of show where really you can't judge a book by its cover. You never know what's gonna lie beneath, and that's pretty much the entire theme of Tower of God. You never know what's coming, but it's always going to be surprising. And it's going to be done with great production value and great storytelling. I'm loving Tower of God. 3 episodes in, I'm already a massive fan of the series. A lot of people have recommended that I check out the webtoon, the online comic, and I'm still gonna wait. I just want to get through the anime version first. I know the first season is supposedly only gonna be 13 episodes, which is kind of disappointing for a show that's based on a very long-running show, but if they can continue to do these like seasonal like bits, like maybe do like 2 cores a year with really great quality, I can honestly see Tower of God going down as an absolute anime classic. And this episode right here was another super strong experience for the show, and that's why I have no problem in giving this episode a 5 out of 5. This is Tower of God, and you guys definitely need to check it out. But if any of you did watch this episode, let's discuss it in the comments section below, whether it be the time test, Khun's backstory, the return of Rachel, or the crown test. Did you have any favorite moments from this episode, favorite funny moments, action moments, anything, any prospects or theories as what's going to be happening in the future of the show? Let's discuss all of it in the comments section below, and I'd love to discuss with you guys. This show has been absolutely amazing. So thank you guys for watching this review. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you want to help support my channel, please continue to watch these videos. Smash that like button. Do it right now. Use your Shinsu power to make it happen. But if you guys want to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon account in the description box below. A little bit goes a long way in terms of donating to the channel. If any of you guys donate $1 or more to the channel, I will do an anime review of your choice. Of course, if it's a super long-running series, I can only watch so much of it, but please keep that in mind. It's a great way for you guys to get a review from me to talk about a show that you love. Otherwise, thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.